All right, shalom, family. Blessings to your house. Thank you for taking a moment to view this video. Today, we're going to be talking about respect. We hear a lot about respect in the community. We hear a lot about respect in relationships. So, my wife and I, we were having a conversation and just figured that it was time for us to at least breathe on this topic. What do you think?
Yes, I do. I totally agree.
It's very relevant because to me, what I perceive in relationships is that respect is the oxygen of a relationship. It is the oxygen. It will keep a relationship alive if you have respect for one another. And this not even a romantic relationship. Any relationship that you have, that if it does not have the necessary respect or the necessary oxygen for that relationship, it will eventually be choked out and die. And that's usually what happens when you have someone where you don't share the same values of respect and appreciation for one another, that relationship ultimately just goes by the wayside. And you typically don't even miss that person.
Right.
I know that I don't. So we're going to go through a few principles, a few examples of respect in the text. But first, I'm going to have, did you want to just kind of like define respect? We'll start there and then we'll go into the scriptures from that point, or what did you want to begin with?
I wasn't really ready to do that, but one moment.
Sure. No, while you do that, what we were doing, we were just going to pull just a basic definition of respect so we can demystify what it is, because it can become really subjective. But what we want is for every man and every woman in that relationship, it's important that they define these boundaries so that the person who they're dealing with knows what the boundaries are and how to give them what they say that they want. So,
Right. So, the word respect in the Hebrew sense, it relates to the word for heavy. So meaning that you should have, this person should be weighty, I guess,
yes.
in your life. And the way that you interact with them should indicate the amount of reverence that you have for them. You can't define the word with the word.
Yes.
But I think we often misuse the word respect, and we often have different ideas of what that is. So I think we'll get a little bit more into kind of rooting out what it is as we talk a little bit more.
Yes. But to your point, sometimes you have to use different language that's a little more specific that everybody can immediately engage with. You say respect. Okay, well, I am respecting you, but do you have reverence? Do you revere that person? Oh, well, that's different.
Right. And it's subjective too.
Yeah.
Because everyone doesn't get the same type of respect, the same level of respect.
Why not?
Well, because they don't have the same position in your life.
And that's going to go right into what I'm going to share. There's several different words for respect in Hebrew. We're going to deal with a couple, shara, and ra'ah. We're going to deal with those. But I want you to go ahead and, I don't want to interrupt your thought, but please go ahead.
I was finished.
Oh, you were done?
I was done.
But you were talking about the positionality.
Right. Yeah. So that's why it would be different. So me showing respect at work versus the amount of respect I would show at home is different. And I think that, you interact with people to be, you are being respectful, and it actually says more about you than it does about them, because you should be able to place yourself in a position where you can, move seamlessly in and out of spaces, especially outside of the home when you're dealing with the world and taking care of business.
That's good. No, let's keep it there. And before I go into the Hebraic, this is, I love what you said, even about not defining a word with the word, but not defining the necessary behaviors with behaviors, but we know the dynamic at work versus the dynamic at home. So I think that it will be very important that we take this moment now to say that for there must be, mutual respect across the board, and we dealt with that it's the oxygen of the relationship. However, there is hierarchy in every relationship. There is no relationship that you have where there is not some type of hierarchy where you can see that I may be more responsible or less responsible than said party. So would you say, so to help the women in the relationships, would you say that there should be greater respect at work than at home, or at home versus at work? How do we have some type of balancing metric? Because I know what I would say, but I wanted to get the feminine perspective first.
So, no, there should not be more shown at work versus at home. That's just nonsensical. So,
But we see how that can happen. But
yeah, we see how it happens. But I think the difference is having respect for someone and showing them respect are two different things. So I can show you respect without really giving you that level of importance or priority in my life.
Let's put a pin right there. So we have a level of respect that is just human. Every person gets at least a certain level of respect, and also there is nothing that someone can do that will make me respect them. There's nothing. There's no act that you can commit or do that would necessitate that a person has to respect you. So you know how we hear the old adage that respect is earned. I believe that, yet I don't believe that, because you should come with a baseline level of respect for everyone, and then based on that person's position, responsibility, you level up that level, that respect, whether they've earned it or not.
Yes.
Because meaning you have to have a certain amount of reverence for someone. Let's just say a police officer. We just use that.
It's really about the power the person has.
Yes.
Versus the person.
Power and position.
Right. Versus the person. Because, you may have a peer at work, and you just may even get a little word exchange with them. You may not do that with your boss. For obvious reasons. You don't want to be written up for it. You don't want it to go on your evaluation.
It could affect the money.
It could impact you. But, that position is important. And then, when you bring it back to asking about, more outside of the home or more in the home, your husband, and I'm speaking only from a perspective of being a wife, should hold the highest position of anyone in your life.
Wife has a definition.
Right.
And husband has have definitions. Right. So go ahead.
Right. That's it. I mean, no one should be able to get more.
But why does the husband has the highest tier of respect as possible? Is that, what about, politicians, your CEO, other icons that women may have venerated and appreciated? Do they get the same level of respect? Should they?
They shouldn't.
Why not?
Because you don't belong to them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say it again.
Well, you don't belong to them.
So you're saying that you belong to your husband?
My husband doesn't belong to me, per se. I mean, everyone knows he's my husband.
Right.
For the last almost 20 years. But,
yes. Hallelujah.
And even though, it sounds strange to people, the wife is the property of the husband.
Right. And what we're sharing is, this is Hebraic thought. And some people may decry, foul, and say that's crazy. You in a cult. Your head wrapped too tight, or you ain't wrapped too tight, to say that you belong to someone. But that's the problem. We've been taught these Western ideologies that are not consistent with Hebraic thought. So if we truly want to have the outcome that the oneness that biblical marriage discusses, then we have to take all of the ingredients. We have to take the things that have been advocated for within the text in order to get the outcome that the text said. And I think that our relationship has grown, it has expanded, it is burgeoned, and it's continuing to do so, where it was almost like, a recipe where, we kind of tinker with certain things. The same way that you make one of the best apple pies I've ever had in my life, y'all. My wife's apple pie is phenomenal. But the first time that you made that pie, it wasn't like it was like a year or so later. You adjusted some of the ingredients. Maybe I need a little more salted butter, a little more, make a little more carrot. Okay, yeah. I ain't gonna give out the secrets. Shh, mom's the word. So it ultimately got better the more you plied the craft. So we're saying that we have to ply the application of respect for one another.
You have to practice being respectful.
Practice it, yes.
Anything that you want to perfect or get better at, you have to invest the time and effort into doing it.
Yes.
And the whole, let's make sure we stand on the respect topic.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
We are.
Because we'll start talking, cameras rolling, we'll forget. But yeah, you can't, no one can trump my husband as far as respect goes. And that's just that. And I'm not going to let anybody else be disrespectful to him either. So.
All right. So let's go ahead and go into, I will be remiss if I don't give all praise, glory, and honor to the God of our fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who loved us so much that he sent his only begotten son, Yahushua, who is the Messiah. There is no other Messiah besides him. He is the definite article, and we venerate him, and we honor him, and we thank him for showing us that the sacrificial path to sonship, to get back right with the Father. So I don't want to get too far before I definitely do that. Not just in saying it to say it, but this is really what I believe that it's necessary that we venerate those that are the ones that we worship. So the word respect. Respect from the Hebraic standpoint, there's two different words that I want to bring out quickly. The word shawah. Shawah indicates where a greater looks down and considers one that is lesser. So you have respect from top to bottom. An example of that is in Genesis 4:4. Let me just pull that text. Genesis 4:4. Genesis 4:4, where we have the recounting of Cain and Abel, who both brought their sacrifices. We know that the sacrifice of Abel was received, but Cain's was not received. And in verse 4, chapter 4, verse 4, it says, "And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Yahuwah had respect unto Abel and to his offering," meaning that he looked down from greater to lesser, and he appreciated, he valued what that person, or what Abel had brought to him. So that is an example of shawah, where the greater respects what the lesser has done. We always want to keep that in mind, that is greater to lesser, but also we have where the lesser, or the one that is in an inferior position, and these terms may trigger some people, and I can understand why that may be the case. Because we've been indoctrinated through Western education that teaches us that we're all the same, that everyone is alike. They teach you that, yet you do not see that in the world. There's hierarchy in everything. So it would be the equivalent of a parent have a child having brought a parent, let's just say a picture that they've colored, and the parent looks at it and say, "Oh, that's very, very nice." You did a great job. I really appreciate you coloring this beautiful picture for me. And it may not be the best, but we always want to encourage. We want to help them feel better about themselves and try to bring them up. But even in that, sometimes you do have to correct, and that's, you still have to do that in a respectful way. And if we consider even what the Most High, when he was dealing with Cain, and he was very patient with Cain, and he said that if you just do what is required, it will be well with you. You would be received. So even when correction is necessitated, we have to do it in a way that the person that we're trying to correct and adjust can receive that correction. Now, moving on to the next one, we're going to go to Isaiah 22. Isaiah 22 and verse 11. Isaiah 22 and verse 11. And we're going to look at the other word, which is ra'ah. Ra'ah. And Isaiah 22 and verse 11. And it says, ye made also a ditch between the two walls for the water of the old pool, but ye have not looked unto the maker thereof, neither had respect unto him that fashioned it long ago. So that respect right there is ra'ah, where you're looking up, you're considering what has been done for you by one that is in a higher station. So even when you're speaking, the scripture tells us the fifth commandment is to honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the earth. You give a certain reverence and honor to them, and it's not contingent upon their actions, what they have done. That is a blessing to you. And even if you give them honor that they have not, this is even hard to say because it requires judgment. You're right. It requires a level of judgment to say that maybe they haven't earned it.
Right. In your eyes.
In my eyes. Right. You see what I'm saying? So the greatest thing that can stop you from really and truly receiving from above is judgment, being critical. So we want to be very mindful, and please consider that you check these spirits, because that will interrupt the flow from greater to lesser, and even the lesser going up to the greater if you have that level of judgment. So Ra'ah is for one that is in a lesser position to look at, to see, to really show respect for what has been done for them, and then to operate accordingly. So I'm going to stop it right there, and I don't want to go too deep into it, because there's other words for respect, like the scripture tells us in Proverbs, and even in the New Testament, to not have respect of persons. Now, that's more meaning. That's the word nakar, where I've not only identified a person and I prefer a person, but I'm also going to ignore what they've done because of my relationship. That's what it means, having respect of persons, that I'm not going to tell this person that they're wrong because that's my partner. They get a pass. That's having respect of persons in judgment. We don't want to do that, family. We want to be consistent, and we're actually told not to do that. So that is a commandment from the Most High.
Okay, that's good. That's good. You said something though that not though, but in addition to something that you said about the respect from greater to lesser, and the having to consider the lesser. And I think that oftentimes as a wife, we jockey for position, and we think that just because we suggest something, or we think this is the best way to do something, that's what the husband should do.
Right.
So I've gotten to a point where when speaking about matters that, in our home, things that we have to work out together, I always know, because of our history, and it had always been like this, but I just always know because of our history that my husband will consider me. in making the decisions, and consider what I've said, consider my perspective, because I've always or tried to at least be consistent, because no one can out research me.
You're a brilliant researcher.
Research.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'll find some stuff. Yeah. So
and one more point though.
Please go ahead.
And as far as a wife being lesser, if that is offensive to you, it's really under.
We're not trying to offend.
Right. It's under your husband's authority.
Yeah.
And there are so many women that walk around talking about they're covered by their husband. They're covered. Well, my head is covered by this wrap, meaning that my head is under it. So you can't claim covering without also submitting to the authority.
Yes.
That's it.
No, that is a great point of submission. We can deal with that later. It's impossible to submit, to truly submit, if you don't have proper respect for that person.
Right. That's what
You'll be second guessing their judgment. You won't value them. You'll think that what they're saying is just asinine and unnecessary because you don't respect the position nor the person. But to your point in correction, that 1 Peter chapter 3 says, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them, talking about the wives, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife. So they'll quote, oftentimes we'll see people say, yeah, husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. I know what she needs. There should be a knowing information that I've gathered, that I've studied this woman. I see this woman. I know who she is, and I know how to get to her. I know how to cause my words to be effective and ebullient and vibrant in her life. I'm dwelling with her according to that knowledge, which means that sometimes I'm going to have to sacrifice some things. You have to be able to temper your tongue, temper your language, because that respect, remember what we said about respect being the oxygen of the relationship. If I'm constantly being disrespectful to her, yet I'm demanding the respect that I don't give, it won't be long before there is a choking off of that relationship. It has to be it's a two-way street. Dwell with them according to knowledge. The next clause says, giving honor unto the wife. Wait a minute.
What does that mean?
You give honor to the wife. We have to embody and live the entire text. I don't have any problem with giving honor to my wife because, like you said, great researcher. Does things for me without me even having to ask, raises my children, trains my children, is constantly doing things for the family. So I have no problem with showing honor to her, preferring her, even serving her because she serves me. So I cannot be, and you're free to do whatever it is that you want to do. But if you want to get a righteous result, this is part of the prescription. These are the ingredients. It's actually prescriptive to inspire her to give you what you want. You follow what I mean? When you give her what she needs, there isn't a problem with her giving you what you need. And then a man has to be clear and able to enunciate. What I need? Baby, I need A, B, C, D. I need to not come home and, this happens, or I need for you to communicate to me in this type of tone because maybe I'm working through some things, and when you come back at me like this, it makes me get defensive, and if everybody defensive, there won't be any valuable exchange there. So show honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. That's the shawah. You're showing respect to her as the weaker vessel. You're not trying to condemn, criticize, or destroy with your words. You're trying to build, elevate, mold, shape, increase, not destroy. As unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs, where? Together. That's the oneness. Being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. So I'm going to stop. I know you want to jump in there, but brothers and sisters, consider these things for the purpose of your prayers not being hindered, because you are married to, you're in a relationship with a daughter of Zion, with a son of the Most High Yah. There's consequences for disrespecting and devaluing them. Maybe you've never heard it, but I'm here to tell you that the Father is watching, and he does require that you deal with his daughters a certain way, men. And for men, and for the ladies, there's a requirement that you operate properly so that your prayers don't be hindered. Because if you're out of order, you can just stop the praying. I'm going to tell the Father, God gonna get you. No, he not, because you're out of order.
Right. Ephesians 5:33.
Ephesians 5:33. Sure, I go there.
Is that what it is about?
Yep, I was going to go there next. I love that text. You got me. You got me. I didn't want to
go that much.
I'm going to read that, and maybe when we pick this up next time, we'll deal with this Ephesians 5. But because you pulled it,
just looking for this.
The reverence. Yeah, the reverence.
The last clause.
Yeah. We'll read that Ephesians 5:33, and we're going to come back to that in the next video, because we want to give you guys quality without a lot of quantity of time spent. Ephesians chapter 5 verse 33 says, "Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself." You don't hate your own body.
Right.
You don't hate and abuse that which is you. And if I see no separation, no variance, I'm a lover. And I know you love her too. So love your wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. Why'd you want to pull that text?
Well, there's another one too, where it tells the husband to love the wife. Is that it? That's
yeah.
Okay. Because I think
even as Hamashiach loved the church, that's earlier up in the text.
I think a lot of times it doesn't say there. Now, it doesn't mean because it's not mentioned that the husband should just be completely disrespectful to his wife. I don't think that that's the intention. However, it calls out respect because of the weightiness of the husband's position over the wife. And I think that it has to be, really focused on, because if you don't have that respect, if you don't show that respect to your husband, it's just a poor reflection of you, of being appreciative of
that's good
of the covering that's been given to you.
Take it for granted.
Right. And I think, a lot of times you hear women say, well, I feel disrespect.
Yeah.
Respect is not a feeling. It's really actions. They're really things that people do. So that goes back to, associating words with your emotions that aren't actually appropriate. But that's another topic also.
Right. Last time we were talking, you pulled a definition of respect. I
can't find that
and I have one here, but the one that it says is intending to not harm. You
due regard.
To have due regard. Yes.
Due regard. Yeah.
Do you have due regard for the position of the person that you say that you love and are in relationship with? Do you hold them in high reverence and esteem, appreciation? Give them the due regard, so even when you are having a disagreement, Are you disagreeing with due regard
Right.
for their feelings, not trying to hurt, harm, and inflict pain versus to get the communication through? Go ahead.
Right. And do implies there's something owed.
Yes.
So, you can have no regard and end up being disrespectful. Totally up to you. But in terms of a marriage and for a wife, the husband is due the respect by position alone.
Yes.
So.
Yes. So we're going to stop right there, family. I hope that you guys have gotten something from this. We're going to tap back in and we're going to pick back up at this Ephesians chapter 5.
Some examples of the disrespect.
Well, yeah. Let's do that. Let's do some things. I'll share this and then you give us some examples of disrespect. I'm going to give you some examples of respect that I saw on social media. This was by a woman that was Muslim. And I don't remember everything that she said. Respecting and preferring her husband. She said, ladies or wives, let's say wives, when your husband comes into the house, stop what you're doing and acknowledge him. Women don't know how big that is for a man. Sisters, stop when your husband comes into the house, stop what you're doing. If you're on the phone call, if you can, end the phone call or at least pause the conversation and acknowledge him. If you're watching television, stop, acknowledge him. If you're cooking, stop, turn around, give him a kiss. Acknowledge that he's home, that he's returned back to his castle, that you've made this a comfortable place where he can have shalom. Then just acknowledge him. Children do that for their father. Just a man could have had a very, very rough day, but when that key goes into the door and he opens that door and those children run, daddy, daddy, and jump into his arms and hug on him and kiss on him. Listen, man, all that stuff that he had to deal with earlier that day, it don't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
That's because I did it for this, and that response is so.
Change his whole demeanor.
Thank you.
Yeah, it can be uplifting.
It uplifts a man. So sisters, if you want to see a difference in your husband, stop what you're doing. Acknowledge him. Make it a practice. Every time. I ain't even say you got to stop and, take his shoes off and rub his head. Like you can do that too. But just something as reverential as acknowledgement goes a very long way with a man, especially in the Western world that's been out here fighting and, a routine traffic stop can get us hemmed up in a bad situation. So just take that little tidbit from a man. Go ahead, babe. Oh, I'm sorry. You were going to give some examples of disrespect. So even in the communication, so that was an example of respect. You may have to when you're talking to your husband, ladies, you may want to consider having that conversation like.
Yeah.
What?
I thought you were gonna say write things down so you don't interrupt.
Oh well, no. That's some. So that was something that you and I came up with because you have a thought and you I gotta get it out and I'm like mid sentence.
So I don't know if anyone watching has noticed, but my husband gets inspired in the middle of his sentence and he'll go to another point.
I do.
And I think that our communication style is just a little different. So I think when he makes the point that I want to add I want him to stop right there.
Yeah.
And that's not how he communicates. So I have to write things down and then I'll say, you remember back when you said, and that's helped.
Right.
Because otherwise he thinks I'm just interrupting to be interrupting.
But I had to learn your method of communication as well, that it's not ill intent But you know, the scripture tells us about, you know, interrupting a man when he's speaking. So we have to. There was a training. There was an adjustment period for us in order to get that understanding. Because I can't just be. It's hard. Stop! Don't interrupt me. I'm speaking.
I remember the point I was going to make there.
Make it.
When you were talking about coming home and being welcomed warmly and attention being given, that's one way a wife, you know, can assist in being respectful. And the reason being that, you know, like you said, so much is going on, you never know. But that's also a reason for disrespect. Number one, complaining all the time about what he is or is not doing. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
There's a way to communicate without being nagging and complaining all the time, and stop being a glass half empty person and look at it as half full, and be thankful for the things that you have.
Yes.
Be grateful for your life, the blood coursing through your veins, and the fact that you woke up this morning with this man beside you still wanting to be married to you.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
That's, you know, one way is to just be nagging and complaining and never happy. You're never happy.
I don't like unhappy people.
And always sick. Something always hurts.
Right. It's one
and
thing
it's
if
not
you
disrespectful.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you can have like just a little mere glimmer of sunshine, save it for him. You know, try to let him have it. And you know, just never listening to your husband is one thing. He's never, you know, able to tell you anything. You don't follow through on things that he's asked of you. He's having to repeat himself over and over again. And actually, if you are attentive, he would maybe tell you once.
Yeah.
Or if you're really attentive, he may not have to tell you at all.
Because you're tuned
just
into
watching.
the real. Yeah.
You don't keep your, you know, you don't present him well if company comes over to the house is in disarray. You don't help him show hospitality to the guests because, you know, it's his house. They're coming to my husband's home and I am his helpmeet. So I'm helping him be hospitable to his guests.
Okay. And family, we are going through some of these steps. It may seem fundamental and elementary to some. And the reason that is because one, you have done some research to try to figure out, and self-help to try to build up that area in your life, or you were brought up in a family where your mother exhibited certain characteristics in nature. But unfortunately, because of the war that has been against our people, the family dynamic has been under attack since we've been here. So you may not have had, some have not had the opportunity to know these things, you know, and they're out on social media searching, looking for these things. And no one has ever really just broken it down to actually actionable points that they can execute. So we want to give these things because all we want is for you to have a healthier, more righteous relationship that's burgeoning and growing and becoming exactly what the text said that it could be if you apply these principles. And these are principles that we have learned and that we are applying on a daily basis.
Yes, absolutely. And you just mentioned a point about social media, so that'll be my last point of disrespect, because social media brings a whole new level of disrespect. I think that making posts, subliminal posts about your personal, familial business on social media platforms is absolutely disrespectful. It makes you look bad. You're trying to make him look bad, or you're at least trying to get people to ask you, you know, what's wrong.
Dating.
Right. So that's one thing, you know, be mindful of your social media posts. Is those affairs should be kept in the home and dealt with in the home. Okay.
And, you know, social media tries to get you to just air everything out. What's on your mind? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? That's not the place for that. you know what? In my opinion,
Right.
I'll just put it like that. You can do whatever you want
Right.
to do.
Do whatever you
We're
like.
strictly trying to give you a higher level of thought and even practicality that, this is not the way of our fathers and our forefathers. They did not behave in this way. And they got different results than what we got. I would even say that they were better at dealing with the life that they experienced, which was much harder than the life that you're experiencing now. The things that you're complaining about are the things that they would have been praying for. Just consider that. What you are complaining about, they were praying for. So that's all I got. Blessings to your house. Love you. Bless you guys. You have any final words?
No.
All right.
No, I don't. Thank you all for joining, watching.
All right. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. All right. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.